I wanted to say that I really liked the structure of this guided reading session. I really liked how Catherine had, she built a body of knowledge to begin with. Then she did a check for understanding. Then there was the turning talk with the retell, and then used questions to lead the thinking, and then got to the author's purpose. I liked the thinking of the entire structure of this session.
I also thought as well, knowing that Catherine was coming into a classroom that wasn't her own, I thought she did a really great job of determining where the kids were at as far as the learning goal. So she spent a good amount of time at the beginning determining what they already knew so that she could help them to build on the knowledge that they already had in order to achieve the learning goal.
And in order to do that, there were very clear instructions given to the students about the steps along the way, I thought. Even to the point where she gave them a cue for reading, turn over your paper, I think was the cue to have them, so that she would know when they were done reading. So there was some very clear explanation of the process, which I thought was great for the kids.
Something I really liked as well, to getting a little more specific, is how the students kept saying they did this, they did that. And Catherine challenged them on that every time and asked them to give the specific nouns. And she was really modeling how little clues in the vocabulary really do help with your inferential thinking. Really like that.
I also noticed along that line too that there was always that positive reinforcement when somebody gave a good answer. She would draw attention to the fact that that was a good answer, often explaining why, because it included an inference, because it included evidence. There was that explicit labeling of inferential reasoning that happened, which again was great for the kids.
And to build on that, I noticed too that sometimes she didn't repeat it. She would have a student repeat the best thinking and the best answers.
Yes.
And
Very
that
powerful.
was very powerful strategy.
Stepping into the shoes of the characters was a strategy that Catherine used well throughout.
Yeah.
And I thought it really helped this group a lot as they built their understanding about the author's message, because it's such a big idea. Having them step into the roles and answer questions in role really helped them to build their understanding.
Yeah, it gives them a way to build a connection. So it's not always connection to something they've already done, something they've already read, but that they're building that connection actually in themselves.
Yeah, and there was some explicit questioning about the text itself. There was the one boy that she was asking, and he had some difficulty answering, and I wonder if, I think the question posed was, how would you feel if? And I wonder if that's difficult for a boy to make that personal connection. I might feel this way. So I wonder if he was able to disconnect and not have it be about his feelings, that he might have actually been more able to make a connection as opposed to...
Like if he'd answered that in role.
Yeah, so that it wouldn't be my feelings are... I think boys have some difficulty expressing my feeling language.
That's an interesting thought. I never thought of that, and I think that's a very valid point.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think for intermediate age boys, I think it might be challenging in a
Yes.
group.
Yeah.
Although
you
there,
just opened my thinking on that, and I'm very excited right now.
but at the same
good.
time,
Thank you.
I think the boy sitting next to him
Yeah.
was able to do that.
Yeah.
He was able to say, I would feel this,
Yeah.
right? So it depends, I guess, on the learner.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But that's very, very exciting. Very exciting. I liked how Catherine used questions all through to lead their thinking.
Yes.
It was hard to find a moment where she pointed out the like the best answer where she wanted them to go. That she kept drawing them along with the questioning.
Yeah.
I thought that was very good.
I thought that the questioning was really, really good. I wondered, though, if Catherine was doing the heavy lifting.
I had a note about that, too,
Yeah, if she was
actually.
the one, because she kept having to prompt them and prompt them and prompt them. And the questions were good in that they kept eliciting the responses. So I wondered if they had, it felt like there needed to be another step in there where there was another strategy that they could examine the text and maybe record something, so that they could start to actually do what Catherine had them do previously, which was find textual examples and link that directly to their thinking.
That's a good idea.
I think it might have been too much for them to try and explain their thinking verbally before they had maybe worked it out on paper, and so I wonder.
Or maybe even a turn and talk too at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Might have worked too.
But even maybe a highlighting, or there's a great strategy called It Says, I Think, and So.
Mhm.
And I think that could have worked there.
Mhm.
And especially with a partner, the turn and talk.
Yeah.
And the discussion about hunting, when Catherine and the boy were speaking about hunting, I wondered, I think he had more to say, but he needed a second to gather his thoughts, and I wondered, kind of thinking about the heavy lifting there too.
Yeah.
I felt like Catherine had momentum going with him that was kind of exciting and really good, but then I think he needed to take a moment. And I don't know whether it was the right move to move the discussion away from him at that point or not, or whether it would have been better to give him the moment. I'm not sure which is the better way to go, but I wondered about that.
I liked how Catherine kept repeating some very precise vocabulary around inferencing. That added more to their bank of knowledge, opens a little piece in their metacognition, and so I'm really happy that she gave them those words to identify their thinking.
Yeah.
I liked too when Catherine asked the kids about the author's message, and you could hear the crickets.
Yeah.
I liked how she would then ask them to go into retell. I thought that was a really,
Yeah.
really responsive and strong maneuver that to give them another route to their thinking.
Yep. And I wrote something down about that retell too, but I can't find it. But yes, I really like that. And I liked how the whole thing built up to, this is an allegory,
Yeah.
and then she defined it, and then recapped all their thinking to show how they had just built the knowledge to understand an allegory.
Yes.
Very good.
And you could feel that momentum came back at that point too. I love the repetition of the "Is it fair?" series of questions there to help consolidate the understanding of the allegory. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think she may have turned to pretty much every kid in the group and asked that, had them personalize it as well. I thought that was a good strategy, to have them try to understand that context, because their prior knowledge didn't seem to be there around the Holocaust. A couple, maybe one or two understood it.
I think one in particular.
Yeah.